On April 25th, 2010, I mistakenly ate poison hemlock. I picked what I thought was a carrot growing in my garden, chopped it up with other veggies, added salt, and set it aside to ferment. 6 days later, I ate some, still unaware, and proceeded down windy Chuckanut Drive south of Bellingham with my daughter asleep in the back. Now, poison hemlock contains a neuromuscular toxin that can stop your heart and diaphragm suddenly. So suffice it to say, I started getting some intense symptoms, and thankfully, I made it to the ER. Later, I discovered that the fermentation, which is a shift in the microbial culture, likely lowered the toxicity enough to spare my life. In addition to my body processing these toxins, I was also dealing with the psychological trauma of continuing to fixate on the all too real story that I could have died. One day I was meeting with my counselor and he said, "Yes, you could have died, and your body is strong and resilient. Which story do you want to focus on? Because whatever you focus on expands." So I've been thinking a lot about resilience. And I wonder, how do we become more resilient? How do we build resilience? Yes, as individuals, and in our workplaces, in our communities. I believe it's one of the most vital questions we have before us, because we are facing so many complex problems that require us to be resilient in the face of them. We reflexively ask, what are we going to do about these problems? And I believe, like Dr. Gabor Mate, the more helpful question is, who are we going to be in the face of them? I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and reflect on what it feels like to be a part of a dysfunctional team dynamic. What's coming to your mind? Often people say words like drained, fatigued, deflated. These are resource words, and whatever type of organization we're a part of, we're concerned with resources, and in this case, energy is draining out of the system. Now I invite you to close your eyes again and imagine what it feels like to be a part of a high-trust collaborative team. What's coming to your mind now? Often people say words like energized, inspired, nourished. These are also resource words, and in this case, energy is multiplying in the system. There's a story that says we only have so much, and staff and their health and resilience are low priority. This is the story of scarcity and finite resources. There's only so much to go around. And there's another story whose metaphor is a raspberry bush. The more you pay attention to it, and pick it, and tend to it, the more it produces. This is the story that believes that the more we invest in the health and resilience of our staff, the greater impact we will have towards our mission. So what story do you want to focus on? Because whatever you focus on expands. And if we want to focus on the story of abundance and resilience, it's critical that we enact this story, even and especially in small ways. When we get the dynamic alive in our body and in our interactions, it can become second nature. And I believe that large shifts can and do happen when we collectively enact abundance and generosity, even in small ways. I have discovered the immense potency of enacting the foundational principles of improvisational theater. What enables and fuels great improv are the very same things needed to build great workplace teams. The cultivation of presence and empathy, supporting each other, being agile in the moment. When we develop these core muscles, we are building the relational architecture of our teams by creating space for a visceral experience of support, trust, and even joy. And before we know it, our focus has shifted. Abundance is tasted, and resilience becomes possible. So what story do you want to enact? the story of scarcity or the story of abundance. Because whatever you focus on expands, and whatever you enact spreads. What's one small step you can make today to start momentum towards the story you are choosing? When many grains of sand shift together, there's potential for a tidal shift, even an abundant one. Thank you.